Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the starship Indomitable, staring at the massive view screen that showed empty space. But she knew that emptiness was an illusion. Somewhere out there, 12 different alien species were watching Earth and making plans for humanity's future. Plans that humans had no say in. The communication panel beeped softly. Lieutenant Martinez looked up from his station with worry in his eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from multiple sources at once." Sarah nodded. "Put it through." The view screen flickered and changed. Instead of stars, 12 different alien faces appeared in a circle formation. Sarah had seen some of them before in diplomatic meetings, but never all together like this. In the center was Ambassador Velkar, a tall crystal being whose body sparkled with blue light. Next to him floated Nethys, a creature made of purple, gas that somehow held together in a vaguely human shape. Velkar spoke first. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Admiral Chen of the human species. We are the Galactic Council. We speak with one voice today." Sarah kept her face calm, but her heart was beating fast. When the Galactic Council spoke with one voice, it usually meant bad news for someone. "I'm listening." "Humanity has expanded too quickly," Velkar continued. "In just 200 years, your species has claimed 30 star systems. You have built weapons of war and shown aggressive behavior toward peaceful species. This cannot continue." Sarah's jaw tightened. "We've never attacked anyone who didn't attack us first. Every human colony was built on empty worlds or with permission from local governments." Nethys swirled forward, his gas form rippling. "Your definition of defense is different from ours, human. You build ships designed only for war. You teach your children to fight. You glorify conflict in your stories and games." "We glorify protecting ourselves," Sarah shot back. "Something every species should understand." Velkar raised one crystal hand. "This is why we have made our decision. Humanity will surrender all military vessels to the Galactic Council within 30 standard days. You will also dismantle all space defense networks and weapons manufacturing facilities. Your species will be relocated to 3 designated worlds where you can live in peace under our protection." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. She felt the air leave her lungs. Around the bridge, her crew members stared in shock. Lieutenant Martinez actually dropped his datapad. "You're talking about putting us in a cage," Sarah said quietly. "We are talking about preventing a galactic war," replied a new voice. This came from Zix-9, a mechanical being that looked like a walking computer. "Our calculations show a 97% chance that humanity will cause major conflict within the next century if left unchecked." Sarah looked at each alien face on the screen. "And if we refuse?" The silence stretched for long seconds. Finally, Velkar answered. "Then we will be forced to remove the threat permanently. We do not wish this outcome, but we will not allow one species to endanger the peace we have built over thousands of years." 30 days, Sarah repeated. 30 standard galactic days, confirmed Velkar. "To show our sincerity, we will demonstrate our capabilities now." The screen went black. Sarah immediately turned to her sensor operator. "Report!" "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. Something's happening to our outer defense satellites." On the view screen, Sarah watched as Earth's defensive network simply stopped working. One by one, the satellites that protected her homeworld went dark. Not destroyed, just shut off, as if someone had flipped a switch. "How did they do that?" whispered Martinez. "Technology we don't understand yet," Sarah replied. She opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Admiral Chen to all stations. We have a situation." The next few hours were chaos. Every human military leader in the galaxy received the same message. Every colonial government demanded answers. The news media went crazy with speculation and fear. Panic buying started on some worlds. Other places saw riots. Sarah spent most of the time in meetings with Earth's leaders. President Williams looked older than his 60 years as he sat in the emergency session room, surrounded by generals, admirals, and civilian advisors. What are our options? The president asked. General Foster, head of the Earth Defense Force, spoke first. We could try to negotiate. Ask for more time, maybe offer to reduce our military by half instead of total surrender. They won't accept that, Sarah said. I've dealt with the Galactic Council before. When they make a decision like this, they don't change their minds. Then what do you recommend? President Williams asked. Sarah took a deep breath. We fight. The room erupted in voices. Several advisors spoke at once, arguing about suicide missions and hopeless causes. General Foster slammed his hand on the table. Fight with what? He demanded. You saw what they did to our satellites? They didn't even fire a shot. They just turned them off like light switches. They have technology advantages, Sarah agreed. But they don't understand humans. They think we'll surrender when faced with superior force because that's what their species do. They've never dealt with a species that chooses to die fighting rather than live in a cage. President Williams held up a hand for quiet. Admiral, give me numbers. How many ships can we put together? Sarah pulled up her data pad. Right now, we have about 3,000 military vessels spread across all human colonies. If we call in the merchant marine and converted civilian ships, maybe 6,000 total. And they have? Unknown, but intelligence estimates at least 40,000 ships, possibly more. And their technology is centuries ahead of ours in most areas. The president leaned back in his chair. So you're recommending that we fight a war we can't win? I'm recommending that we fight a war where surrender means the end of human freedom forever, Sarah replied. Sir, they're not just talking about taking our weapons. They want to relocate our entire species to 3 worlds, under their control. Our children would grow up as pets in an alien zoo. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew Sarah was right, but the numbers were terrifying. Finally, President Williams spoke. If we're going to do this, we do it right. Admiral Chen, I'm giving you complete authority over all human military forces. Call back every ship, every pilot, every soldier. If humanity is going to make a stand, we make it together. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Yes, sir. I'll send the recall order immediately. As the meeting ended, Sarah walked to the window that looked out over Earth's capital city. Millions of people went about their daily lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. Children played in parks. Couples walked hand in hand. Old people fed birds by ponds. In 30 days, all of this might be gone. The Galactic Council would either rule over humanity or destroy them completely. But Sarah knew something the aliens didn't understand. Humans had faced extinction before and survived. They had fought impossible wars and won. They had looked death in the face and spat in its eye. She touched the communication panel on the wall. This is Admiral Chen to all human forces throughout the galaxy. Emergency recall order. All military vessels are to return to the Sol system immediately. All civilian ships capable of mounting weapons are requested to volunteer for defense duties. This is not a drill. The die was cast. In 30 days, humanity would either win their freedom or die trying. But they would not go quietly into the cage the Galactic Council had prepared for them. That much Sarah Chen promised herself and her species. 3 days after Admiral Chen sent the recall order, ships started arriving at Earth. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships of every type. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining ships, research vessels, and even luxury yachts came streaming into the Sol system. Each ship carried the same message. Humanity would not surrender. Captain Marcus Torres brought his destroyer Defiance from the outer colonies, along with every other military ship in his sector. As he docked at Luna Station, he couldn't believe what he saw through the observation windows. Space around Earth looked like a massive traffic jam. Ships waited in long lines to get fuel, supplies, and weapons. I've never seen anything like this, his first officer, Commander Lisa Park, said as she watched a converted cruise ship getting missile launchers bolted to its hull. That ship used to take families on vacation tours. Marcus nodded. Now it's going to fight aliens to keep those families free. Down on Earth, every weapons factory worked around the clock. President Williams had declared martial law, but not to control the people. Instead, he used it to coordinate the largest military buildup in human history. Factories that used to make cars now made ammunition. Shipyards that built civilian vessels started adding armor and weapons to anything that could fly in space. Admiral Chen barely slept during those first weeks. Every day brought new challenges. The biggest problem was simple. They didn't have enough weapons for all the ships that wanted to fight. "Admiral, we have 15,000 ships ready to join the fleet," reported General Foster. "But we only have military-grade weapons for about half of them." Sarah rubbed her tired eyes. "What about the civilian weapons? Laser mining equipment, magnetic cargo handlers, industrial plasma cutters? Our engineers are working on it. They think they can modify mining lasers to work as weapons. The power won't be as good as military lasers, but it's better than nothing." "Do it," Sarah ordered. "Also, check with the research stations. Some of them have experimental weapons that never got approved for military use. Now might be the time to try them." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council was having its own problems. The 12 species had never seen anything like humanity's response. Ambassador Velkar floated in the council chamber, his crystal body flickering with confused lights. "They cannot be serious," said General Thax, the military leader of the warrior species called the Brutans. "My people faced the same choice 3,000 years ago. When we saw the Council's superior technology, we chose to join rather than die uselessly." Zix-9's mechanical voice clicked and whirred. "Our data shows that 99.7% of space-capable species surrender when faced with overwhelming force. Humans appear to be an anomaly." Nethys swirled in his containment field. "Perhaps they do not understand the situation. Should we send another message explaining that resistance is impossible?" Velkar considered this. The human Admiral Chen seemed intelligent. "I believe she understands perfectly. Yet they continue to prepare for war." "Then we should attack now," General Thax declared, "before they can gather more ships." "No," said Elder Zephys, the oldest member of the council. Her species, the Mentari, were known for their wisdom. "Let them gather their fleet. Let them see our full power when we arrive. When they witness the size of our armada, even humans will realize that resistance is futile." What the council didn't know was that human intelligence agents had been watching their military buildup too. "Commander?" Sarah Kim led a small team of spies who had spent years learning about alien technology and military tactics. "Admiral," Sarah Kim reported to Admiral Chen via secure transmission. "Our scouts report massive fleet movements throughout Galactic Council space. They're pulling ships from every system, every species. Intelligence estimates between 40 and 60,000 vessels." Admiral Chen felt her stomach drop. Even in her worst fears, she hadn't imagined numbers that high. "Any weaknesses you've identified?" "A few things. First, they've never fought a coordinated war together. Each species has its own fighting style, its own command structure. They'll probably have communication problems. Second, their technology is advanced, but it's also predictable. They rely on energy shields and long-range weapons. They've never faced an enemy crazy enough to ram ships into them." Admiral Chen smiled grimly. "Crazy enough, I like that. What else?" "Their ships are designed to last centuries. They're built strong but not for desperate tactics. Our ships are newer, more flexible. And Admiral, they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of when our backs are against the wall." This gave Sarah an idea. She called a meeting of all her senior commanders. Captains and admirals from across human space gathered in the main conference room of Luna Station. "Listen carefully," Sarah began. "We can't win this war using normal tactics. They have better ships, better weapons, better shields. But they also have something we can use against them: predictability." Captain Torres leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "They fight wars the way civilized species fight wars. Organized formations, planned maneuvers, logical tactics. They've been doing it the same way for thousands of years because it always worked." Sarah brought up a holographic display showing battle formations. "We're going to do something they won't expect. We're going to fight like desperate humans." Commander Park raised her hand. "Admiral, with respect, what does that mean exactly?" Sarah's smile was fierce. It means we're going to break every rule of space combat they know. We're going to ram damaged ships into their flagships. We're going to hide in asteroid fields and jump out like pirates. We're going to use tactics so crazy that no sane species would try them. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Captain Torres started laughing. You want us to fight dirty? I want us to fight like humans, Sarah corrected. Like the species that survived ice ages and world wars and every disaster our planet could throw at us. The species that looked at the impossible and said, watch me. Over the next 2 weeks, the human fleet trained using these new tactics. Ships practiced ramming maneuvers. Pilots learned to use debris fields as weapons. Engineers figured out how to overload reactors on command, turning any ship into a massive bomb. The rest of the galaxy watched in amazement and horror. Some alien species secretly hoped the humans would win. They had grown tired of the Galactic Council's control, but were too afraid to rebel. Others were terrified at the thought of humans loose in the galaxy with no one to control them. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's top xenobiologist, received reports from alien contacts on dozens of worlds. Admiral, we're getting interesting intelligence from our diplomatic sources. Several species are questioning the Council's decision. The Kalari think humans deserve the right to defend themselves. The Zephyrians are worried about what happens if the Council wins too easily. Sarah filed this information away. It might be useful later, but right now she had to focus on the coming battle. With 1 week left before the deadline, Sarah received the final ship count from her logistics officer. Admiral, we have 15,847 vessels ready for combat. About 6,000 are military ships with full armament. The rest are civilian vessels with whatever weapons we could mount on them. Sarah nodded. It was more than she had hoped for when this started, but still not nearly enough. Send a message to all ship commanders. Full briefing in 12 hours. We're going to go over the battle plan one more time. That night, Sarah stood alone on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking out at the human fleet. Thousands of ships floated in space, their running lights creating an artificial constellation around Earth. Some of those ships would be destroyed in the coming battle. Some of the brave people aboard them would never see their families again. But they were all here by choice. Every ship, every pilot, every crew member had volunteered to fight for humanity's freedom. The Galactic Council thought humans were dangerous because they were aggressive and warlike. They were about to learn that humans were most dangerous when they were fighting for something they loved. 2 days before the deadline, long-range sensors picked up the first signs of the Galactic Council fleet. Lieutenant Martinez was on duty when the readings came in. His hand shook as he checked the numbers 3 times before calling Admiral Chen. Admiral, you need to see this, he said when Sarah arrived on the bridge. Long-range sensors are detecting massive hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. Sarah looked at the display and felt her breath catch. The sensor readings showed more ships than she had ever imagined. How many? Computer estimates 52,000 vessels, Admiral, and they're still coming. Sarah had known this moment would come, but seeing the actual numbers made her stomach twist. The human fleet was outnumbered more than 3-to-1 by ships that were technologically superior in every way. Any reasonable military commander would surrender immediately. Send word to all fleet commanders, Sarah said calmly. Emergency, meeting in 1 hour. It's time for final preparations. The meeting took place in the main conference room of the command station. Every senior officer in the human fleet attended, either in person or by hologram. Sarah looked around the room at faces she had known for years. These were good people, brave people, who had chosen to stand with humanity, even knowing they would probably die. You've all seen the sensor reports, Sarah began. The Galactic Council has assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. They're bringing everything they have to crush us. Captain Torres spoke up from the back of the room. Admiral, some of my junior officers are asking if we should reconsider, maybe negotiate for better terms. Sarah had expected this question. What terms do you think they'd offer? Permission to keep half our weapons? The right to choose which prison worlds we live on? She shook her head. No, they've made their position clear. Total surrender or total destruction. Commander Park leaned forward. So we're really doing this. 15,000 human ships against 50,000 alien vessels. We're doing this, Sarah confirmed. But remember, we're not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to hurt them enough that they'll reconsider their demands. Make them pay such a high price for victory that they'll decide humans aren't worth the trouble. General Foster, who had been quiet until now, stood up. Admiral, I want to say something to everyone here. He looked around the room. I've been a soldier for 35 years. I've fought in colonial wars, border conflicts, and pirate raids. But this is different. This isn't about territory or resources or politics. This is about whether the human race will remain free. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Every species in this galaxy has faced this choice. The Brutans chose to surrender and join the Council. The Kalari negotiated for limited independence. The Zephyrians accepted Council oversight in exchange for protection. They all made practical, logical decisions. Sarah could see officers nodding throughout the room. But humans, Foster continued, humans have never been good at making practical decisions when freedom is involved. We'd rather die fighting than live on our knees. That's not a flaw in our character, that's our greatest strength. The room was completely silent now. So yes, we're probably going to die in the next few days. But we're going to die as free humans, not as council pets. And maybe, just maybe, we'll show this galaxy something it's never seen before. After the meeting, Sarah returned to her quarters for a few hours of sleep. She knew it might be the last peaceful moments she would have for a long time. But sleep wouldn't come. Instead, she sat at her desk and wrote letters to her family. Her daughter Jessica was a teacher on Mars. Her son Michael was a farmer on one of the colony worlds. They had both wanted to come fight, but Sarah had ordered them to stay safe with their families. Someone needed to survive to remember what humans had tried to do here. While Sarah wrote her letters, the Galactic Council fleet continued to arrive. Ambassador Velkar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Peace, watching the tactical displays show his massive armada. The human fleet is holding position around their homeworld, reported Admiral Quex, the Brutans' military commander. 52,000 of our ships against their 15,000. They cannot possibly believe they can win. Velkar's crystal body flickered with confused patterns. I have studied human history extensively. They have a saying, give me liberty, or give me death. Perhaps they mean it literally. Then they will have death, Admiral Quex replied coldly. My ships are ready to advance. Wait, Velkar said. Send them one final message. Offer them one last chance to surrender. The transmission reached Admiral Chen 30 minutes later. Velkar's image appeared on the main screen, his crystal form sparkling with what humans had learned was anxiety among his species. Admiral Chen, I speak to you now not as a representative of the Galactic Council, but as one intelligent being to another. Please reconsider your position. Your fleet is brave, but bravery cannot overcome such overwhelming odds. Surrender now and your species will be treated with dignity. Continue this resistance and I cannot guarantee the survival of your homeworld. Sarah had been expecting this message. She had prepared her response carefully. Ambassador Velkar, I appreciate your concern for human lives, but you misunderstand something fundamental about our species. We would rather die free than live as slaves. Your council demands total surrender. You want to put humanity in a cage and call it protection. We reject this offer. She took a deep breath before continuing. In 2 days, when your deadline expires, you will find humanity ready to fight for our freedom. We may lose, but we will not go quietly, and perhaps other species in this galaxy will see that there is another choice besides submission. Velkar's lights dimmed with what Sarah recognized as sadness. Then I am sorry, Admiral. Truly sorry. You are forcing us to destroy a species with great potential. You're not destroying us, Ambassador. You're freeing us to show you what humans can really do. After the transmission ended, Sarah immediately began implementing the final phase of her battle plan. She called it Operation Swarm, and it was based on a simple principle. If you can't win through superior technology, win through superior courage. All civilian vessels will form the first wave, she announced to her commanders. Mining ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners, anything that can mount a weapon. They'll charge the alien fleet directly. Captain Torres looked shocked. Admiral, those ships won't last 5 minutes against Council warships. They're not supposed to last, Sarah replied grimly. They're supposed to break up the alien formations, create chaos, make the enemy think we're desperate and stupid. While they're dealing with the first wave, our military ships will hit them from the flanks using asteroid fields for cover. Commander Park understood immediately. You want them to think we're throwing away lives uselessly, so they won't expect organized attacks from other directions. Exactly. The Council has studied human military tactics from our wars against each other, but they've never seen humans fighting for survival as a species. They don't know what we're capable of when everything is on the line. Sarah brought up a holographic display of the solar system. The battle will take place here near Jupiter's orbit. We'll use the asteroid belt and Jupiter's moons for cover. Every trick, every desperate tactic, every insane maneuver we can think of. Over the next day, human ships moved into position. The civilian vessels took up spots in the front lines, their crews knowing they were likely going to die. But not one ship asked to withdraw. Not one captain requested reassignment to safer duties. On Earth, people gathered around public screens to watch the news reports. Children asked their parents why the sky looked different. The answer was simple. It was full of human ships preparing to fight for their freedom. Sarah spent the final night before battle walking through the corridors of her flagship. She stopped to talk with crew members, sharing a few words with the people who would follow her into the impossible battle ahead. In the engine room, she found Chief Engineer Rodriguez working on weapon modifications. How are we looking, Chief? Better than expected, Admiral. We've managed to increase our energy output by 15%. It'll burn out the systems faster, but for a short battle, it should give us an edge. Good work, Sarah said. She was about to leave when Rodriguez called. Her back, Admiral. My son is serving on one of the civilian ships in the first wave, the cargo hauler New Hope. I want you to know, we understand what you're asking us to do, and we're proud to do it. Sarah felt her throat tighten with emotion. Chief, I promise you this. Every sacrifice made in this battle will mean something. Win or lose, the galaxy is going to remember what humans did here. As dawn broke over Earth, long-range sensors confirmed that the Galactic Council fleet had finished assembling. 52,000 alien warships hung in space like an artificial constellation, their weapons powered up and shields at full strength. Against them stood 15,000 human ships, crewed by volunteers who had chosen freedom over safety, death over surrender. The countdown to war had begun. The Galactic Council's deadline expired at exactly 12 on Earth Standard Time. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the massive alien fleet begin to move toward Earth. 52,000 ships advanced in perfect formation, their energy shields creating a wall of shimmering light that stretched across space. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, Sarah broadcast to the human fleet. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every species in this galaxy that dreams of freedom. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and show these aliens what humans can do when our backs are against the wall. The response came, back from 15,000 ships at once. Understood, Admiral. For humanity. The alien fleet moved slowly, confidently. They had no reason to hurry. Their formation was textbook perfect. Heavy battleships in the center, cruisers on the flanks, fighters screening the advance. It was the same formation they had used to conquer dozens of species over thousands of years. Admiral Quex, commanding the Bruton's battle group, spoke over the Council's communication network. Humans are maintaining position near their asteroid belt. They appear to be waiting for us to come to them. Predictable, replied Admiral Zinth of the Kalari fleet. Defensive positioning is logical when outnumbered. We will crush them systematically. But Ambassador Velkar, observing from the command ship, felt uneasy. He had studied human military history extensively. Something is wrong. Humans rarely choose purely defensive strategies. They prefer to attack, even when outnumbered. Perhaps they have learned wisdom, suggested Elder Zephys over the communication link. Perhaps they finally understand the futility of resistance. Velkar's crystal body flickered with doubt. I do not think humans know how to surrender. He was right to be worried. When the alien fleet reached the outer edge of the asteroid belt, Sarah gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Operation Swarm is now active. First wave, begin your attack. Suddenly, 5,000 civilian ships burst out of hiding places throughout the asteroid field. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger liners, and converted yachts charged directly at the alien formation. Their weapons were mostly improvised, mining lasers, magnetic grapples, and industrial plasma cutters. But they flew with desperate courage. What are they doing? Admiral Quex demanded as his sensors showed the incoming wave of civilian ships. This is suicide. Captain Rodriguez of the cargo hauler New Hope led his group of converted freighters straight at a Brutan's battle cruiser. His ship's hull was covered with improvised armor plating, and missile launchers had been welded to what used to be cargo bays. This is for my grandchildren, Rodriguez shouted over the radio as his ship opened fire. The mining laser he had converted into a weapon cut deep into the alien ship's shields. All across the alien formation, human civilian ships crashed into the perfect battle lines. The aliens had expected organized military attacks that they could counter with standard defensive measures. Instead, they faced thousands of seemingly insane humans who flew their ships like guided missiles. The New Hope managed to ram the Bruton's cruiser before being destroyed. The explosion took out both ships, but it also opened a gap in the alien formation that other human ships immediately exploited. Admiral Quex tried to restore order to his battle group, but the human attack was unlike anything in the Galactic Council's military textbooks. "Reform the line," he ordered. "Bring the cruisers forward to fill the gaps." But as soon as his ships moved to plug one hole, human ships appeared from another direction. They hid behind asteroids, used debris fields as cover, and attacked from angles that no sane military force would consider. Sarah watched the chaos unfold from her command center and smiled grimly. The first part of her plan was working. The alien formation was breaking apart as commanders tried to respond to threats coming from everywhere at once. "Phase 2, she ordered. "Military units begin flanking attacks." Now the real human warships joined the battle. While the aliens were distracted by the civilian ship attacks, Sarah's destroyers and cruisers struck from both sides of the alien formation. They used tactics that the aliens had never seen before: hit-and-run attacks, kamikaze runs, and coordinated strikes against specific targets. Captain Marcus Torres led his destroyer Defiance and 5 other ships in a direct attack on the alien command vessel. "Target their communication arrays," he ordered his weapons officer. "Cut off their ability to coordinate the fleet." The Defiance dodged between larger alien ships, using their own vessels as cover while targeting the command ship's communication equipment. Torres knew his ship couldn't survive long in direct combat, but he didn't need to survive long. He just needed to complete his mission. "Sir, we're taking heavy damage," reported his first officer. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. We're losing life support." "Keep us together for 5 more minutes," Torres replied. "That's all we need." The Defiance fired everything it had at the alien command ship. Missiles, lasers, and electromagnetic pulse weapons all struck within seconds of each other. The command vessel's shields held, but its communication systems went offline. Suddenly, the perfect coordination of the alien fleet began to break down. Individual ship captains couldn't receive orders from their commanders. Battle groups started acting independently, often getting in each other's way. "Now," Sarah ordered. "All remaining ships, full attack." The rest of the human fleet charged out of the asteroid belt like an avalanche. Military ships, armed civilian vessels, and even small fighters swarmed the confused alien formation. They didn't try to match the aliens' superior firepower. Instead, they used speed, surprise, and desperate courage to cause maximum chaos. Commander Lisa Park piloted her fighter through a gap between 2 alien battleships, firing at their engine ports. "This is crazy," she shouted over the radio. "I can't believe this is working." But it was working. The aliens had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for victory. Their military doctrine was based on civilized warfare between rational beings who valued survival above all else. They had no defense against humans who treated their own ships as expendable weapons. Admiral Zinth tried to rally the Kalari battle group. All ships form defensive positions, create overlapping fields of fire. But before his ships could regroup, a wing of human fighters led by Commander Park struck their formation. The fighters were small and fast, too quick for the big alien guns to target effectively. They swarmed around the alien ships like angry insects, striking at engines and weapon systems. "They're everywhere," one of Zinth's captains reported. "How do we fight an enemy that attacks from all directions at once?" The answer was, they couldn't. The Galactic Council had become used to fighting predictable enemies who followed established rules of warfare. Humans wrote their own rules as they fought. The turning point came when Captain Torres made the ultimate sacrifice. His ship Defiance was dying, its hull breached in dozens of places, and its weapon systems failing. But Torres saw one last chance to strike a crucial blow. "Hands abandon ship," he ordered his crew. "Set the reactor to overload." "Sir, you can't stay here," his first officer protested. Torres looked at the young woman who had served with him for 3 years. "Someone needs to pilot the ship into the target. Get to the escape pods." "That's an order." The Defiance, now a guided missile with a nuclear reactor for a warhead, rammed directly into the flagship of the Veltar crystal beings. The explosion was visible from Earth, a brief new star that lit up the darkness of space. The destruction of the Veltar flagship sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Ambassador Velkar himself was aboard that ship, and his death left the Galactic Council forces without their primary coordinator. Sarah saw the explosion and felt her heart break for Marcus Torres, but she also saw the opportunity it created. "All ships concentrate fire on the alien center. Their command structure is collapsing." What happened next surprised even Sarah. The human fleet, which had been fighting individual battles all across the asteroid belt, suddenly seemed to move as one organism. Ships that had never worked together before coordinated their attacks perfectly. It was as if every human in the fleet could feel what the others were thinking. Lieutenant Martinez, monitoring communications, looked up at Sarah in amazement. "Admiral, our pilots are somehow coordinating without radio contact. They're anticipating each other's moves." Sarah realized what was happening. Under extreme stress, humanity was showing a capability that no other species possessed. The ability to act as a unified whole without central coordination. Each human pilot could sense what others needed and responded instinctively. The alien fleet, designed for predictable warfare between civilized species, could not adapt to this new kind of combat. Their formations collapsed as human ships struck from unexpected angles with perfect timing. Finally, after 6 hours of the most intense space combat in galactic history, the impossible happened. Admiral Quex, his own flagship damaged and half his battle group destroyed, sent a message to all remaining Galactic Council ships. "General retreat. All vessels, withdraw to hyperspace immediately." The surviving alien ships, less than half of their original number, fled the system in disorder. They left behind thousands of wrecked vessels, and the silence after battle was almost as overwhelming as the noise during it. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of her damaged flagship, seeing crew members sitting in stunned quiet. They had expected to die fighting. None of them had really believed they could win. "Admiral," Lieutenant Martinez called softly from his station, "we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Every species is asking for confirmation of what happened here." Sarah nodded. Word would spread quickly. The Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy for thousands of years, had been defeated by a species they had tried to put in a cage. "What, about our own casualties?" "Still counting, ma'am. We lost almost 12,000 ships. But the civilian vessels that survived are asking for orders. They want to know if the war is over." Sarah looked out at the debris field where so many brave humans had died, ships that had carried families on vacation trips, hauled cargo between colonies, or mined asteroids for precious metals, were now twisted metal floating in space. But their sacrifice had meaning. Humanity was still free. 3 days later, a single, alien ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. It wasn't a warship, but a diplomatic vessel. Admiral Chen met with her remaining commanders to discuss how to respond. They could be planning a trap, suggested Commander Park, her fighter still bearing scorch marks from the battle. No, Sarah replied. They're coming to negotiate. The question is, what do we want from them? General Foster, his uniform torn and dirty from working on rescue operations, spoke up. We want them to leave us alone, that's all we ever wanted. Sarah had been thinking about this for days. It's not that simple anymore. We just defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Every species out there is watching to see what we do next. Some of them are hoping we'll free them from council control. Others are terrified that we'll become conquerors ourselves. The alien diplomatic ship was given permission to dock at Luna Station. To everyone's surprise, the being who emerged was not a military commander or council member, but Elder Zephys, the oldest and wisest member of the Galactic Council. She was beautiful in an alien way, tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light. Her species, the Mentari, were known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and fairness. If anyone could negotiate a peace, it would be her. Admiral Chen, Elder Zephys said, as they met in the station's main conference room, I come to speak not as a member of the Galactic Council, but as one who has lived long enough to recognize when the galaxy has changed forever. Sarah studied the alien's face, trying to read her intentions. Elder Zephys, I'm surprised the Council sent you. I expected military threats or demands for surrender. The Council is fractured at the moment, Zephys admitted. Some members want to gather a larger fleet and crush humanity completely. Others believe that would only lead to more defeats. A few think it is time to accept that the old ways of controlling the galaxy no longer work. And what do you think? Zephys sat down across from Sarah, her movements graceful despite her age. I think humanity has taught the galaxy something important. You have shown that freedom is worth any price, even death. This is a lesson most species forgot long ago. Sarah leaned back in her chair. So what are you proposing? Full membership in the Galactic Council, equal status with all other species, the right to keep your military forces and defend your territory. In exchange, humanity agrees to follow the same laws that govern all council members. Sarah had expected this offer, but hearing it still felt strange. A week ago, the council had demanded total surrender. Now they were offering full equality. What about the other species that might want freedom from council control? Sarah asked. Zephys smiled, and Sarah realized it was the first time she had seen an alien show genuine happiness. That is the most important question of all. The Council has ruled through superior technology and military force for thousands of years, but technology can be shared, and military force can be challenged, as you have proven. Perhaps it is time for a different kind of galaxy. Over the next several weeks, negotiations continued. The Galactic Council was indeed fractured. Some species supported giving humans full membership, seeing it as the only way to prevent another devastating war. Others wanted to continue fighting, convinced that humanity must be stopped before they inspired other rebellions. The breakthrough came when 3 species, the Zephyrians, the Kalari, and surprisingly the Brutans, announced they were withdrawing from the Galactic Council's military alliance. General Thax, the Brutans' commander who had survived the battle, made a public statement that shocked the galaxy. My people chose to surrender to the Council 3,000 years ago, because we thought survival was more important than freedom. Watching the humans fight has reminded us what we gave up. The Brutans will no longer serve as enforcers for a government that rules through fear. Within a month, half the species in the Galactic Council had demanded major reforms. The old system of absolute control was crumbling, replaced by something that looked more like a democratic alliance. Sarah Chen found herself in the strange position of being the most famous human in the galaxy. Alien news services called her the admiral who changed everything. Human colonies throughout space erected statues in her honor. But what meant the most to her was a simple message from Captain Rodriguez's daughter, thanking her for making her father's sacrifice meaningful. The final peace treaty was signed aboard a neutral station at the edge of Council space. Humanity was granted full membership in what was now called the Galactic Alliance. Human ships would patrol alongside former enemies. Human technology would be shared with other species, just as alien technology would be shared with humans. Most importantly, any species that wanted independence from the Alliance could leave freely. No more forced membership. No more threats of destruction for those who chose their own path. Admiral Chen stood in the observation deck of the space station, looking out at a sight that would have been impossible just months ago. Human destroyers flew in formation with Kalari cruisers and Bruton's battleships. Former enemies had become allies, united by the simple idea that freedom was worth fighting for. Admiral, Lieutenant Martinez approached with a datapad, the final casualty reports from the battle. Sarah took the pad but didn't look at it immediately. She knew the numbers would be painful. Thousands of humans had died to win this freedom. 14,732 people, she read quietly. That's what it cost us. Ma'am, Martinez said softly, there's something else in the report. Messages from the families of those who died. They wanted you to know. They don't regret the sacrifice. Their sons and daughters and parents died free. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. And their grandchildren will live free too. A soft chime indicated that someone was approaching. Sarah turned to see Elder Zephys walking toward them, her elegant form moving gracefully in the station's artificial gravity. Admiral, I wanted to speak with you before the signing ceremony. Of course, Elder. Zephys looked out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. In all my years, I have never seen such rapid change in galactic civilization. Your species has accomplished in months what we thought would take centuries. We had good teachers, Sarah replied diplomatically. No, Zephys shook her head. You had something we had forgotten, the willingness to die for your principles. Most species eventually choose comfort over freedom, security over independence. But humans chose death over surrender. She turned to face Sarah directly. That choice has changed everything. Species that have been subjects for thousands of years are remembering what self-determination means. Young beings on dozens of worlds are asking why they cannot choose their own paths. Sarah nodded. Change is never easy. No, but it is necessary. The galaxy was becoming stagnant under the old system. Perhaps it needed humans to shake us all awake. The signing ceremony took place in the main hall of the station. Representatives from 47 species attended, either in person or by hologram. When Sarah signed the treaty on behalf of humanity, she thought about all the people who had died to make this moment possible. Captain Torres, who had rammed his ship into the enemy flagship, Chief Rodriguez and the crew of the New Hope, who had charged into certain death to break the alien battle line, thousands of others who had chosen to fight rather than live as prisoners. As she wrote her name, Sarah spoke quietly. This is for everyone who believed that freedom is worth any price. The ceremony concluded with something that had never happened in galactic history, a joint military parade. Ships from dozens of species flew in formation, their weapons powered down and their shields dropped in a gesture of mutual trust. Leading the parade were human destroyers flying alongside Galactic Alliance cruisers. The same ships that had been trying to destroy each other just months before now moved together in perfect harmony. Back on Earth, people gathered in cities and towns to watch the parade on public screens. Children who had hidden in shelters during the battle now pointed at the sky and asked their parents about the alien ships flying next to human vessels. Are they friends now? Asked a little girl in New York, watching a Bruton's battleship flying next to a human carrier.